All right, we've got some serious business to dive into today. This is big, 5 bombshells that have hit Rangers in the last 24 hours. Shocked Rangers fans left furious by embarrassing Philippe Clement response to tactical criticism. Kevin Muscat in with a shot at the Rangers job as Philippe Clement's exit is rumored. Tom Lawrence shares what he finds unfair while answering a Rangers fan amid the backlash. The shocking dressing room rot that should stun Rangers fans as an alarmed pundit spills all. And finally, we'll wrap things up with a scenario where the fans force Clement out of Rangers. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single video about the Rangers. And let's jump right into the drama. Philippe Clement's presser didn't half stir the pot ahead of tonight's Europa League clash, eh? Folk were already fuming after the 1-0 disaster against Kilmarnock, and it feels like the questions are getting sharper by the day. We're now a year into Clement's reign, about the same amount of time that Michael Beale got before folk ran out of patience with him. And what's got the fans' blood boiling is that the football on show is looking more tedious than entertaining. Too many long punts up the park or endless sideways passes. Take your pick, it's not doing the trick. Things got properly spicy when Four Lads Had a Dream asked Clement about these exact criticisms. Now, instead of addressing it head-on, Clement shot back, saying the complaints were contradictory. Is it too many long balls or too many sideways passes? He fired back. When told both could be true, he admitted the team didn't create enough against Kilmarnock, but insisted there were other games where they managed more chances. Well, we'll need to get our hands on those games because they've not exactly been classics, have they? Now the fans are split down the middle. Most reckon Clement's reaction came off as defensive and evasive, praising Four Lads for bringing it up. Some are calling his response embarrassing, saying it's a red flag after all the early optimism about ditching this dreaded sideways football. Others feel Clement's just buying time by blaming the players, insisting there's no clear style of play. His new signings have made things worse, one fan raged, and now he's playing the old, "we need more time" card. Another pointed out, he's never answered a question about his style with confidence because, let's face it, he doesn't have one. But not everyone's sharpening the knives just yet. Some reckon Clement's got a point, arguing the players are simply not good enough and that none of the new recruits have impressed so far. The problem isn't just tactics, one fan said. It's the lack of creativity and constant cheap goals. And so the tension builds. Clement's got a big test tonight against FCSB, and if he can't turn it around, well, we've all seen how this story ends at Rangers. Kevin Muscat's name has re-emerged as a contender for the Rangers manager's job, with Graham Dorrans suggesting the Australian could be in the running if Philippe Clement's time in Glasgow runs out. After the disappointing 1-0 defeat to Kilmarnock on the 20th of October, pressure is mounting on Clement, and despite the board publicly backing him, there's growing noise from fans and pundits questioning if he's the right fit. On the Go Radio football show, Dorrans floated the idea that Muscat might compete with Derek McInnes for the job if the board makes a change. Muscat isn't a stranger to the conversation. He was one of the final 2 options when Rangers were looking to replace Michael Beale last year, but the job ultimately went to Clement. Back then, it seemed like the right decision. Now, though, with recent results stirring discontent, some are wondering if the club picked the wrong man. The big question is whether Muscat would even be up for it this time around. There's a sense from folk like Craig Moore that the opportunity might have passed, but you know how quickly things change. If Rangers came calling again, Muscat might not hesitate, especially if the chance to manage the club still feels unfinished for him. For now, Clement stays in charge, but if results don't improve, the board may be forced to act. With the fan base growing restless and the style of football under Clement criticized as uninspiring, it's hard to say how long he'll be given to turn things around. McInnes, who masterminded that Kilmarnock victory, could be an easier and safer bet. But Muscat's more adventurous style might appeal to those hoping for a long-term transformation at the club. So here's one for you. Would Kevin Muscat be the bold choice Rangers need? Or would giving him the job be another risky punt that could backfire? Right, Tom Lawrence has come out swinging, saying the criticism that Rangers have been boring and predictable this season is a bit unfair. Now, I'll give him some credit. At least he owned up to that 1-0 horror show against Kilmarnock. But saying that fans have been harsh over the other performances? Not sure that's going to fly, mate. We're sitting 3rd in the league with 16 points from 8 games. and Sunday's trip to Rugby Park was meant to close the gap on Celtic and Aberdeen. Instead, it was another dreary 90 minutes that ended in a 1-0 defeat, with fans left scratching their heads. And let's face it, you know how these things go. Folk don't exactly hold back, especially when the football looks as lively as a wet Tuesday in January. Lawrence was on the mic before tonight's Europa League game against FCSB, and four lads had a dream. Asked the question we're all thinking. This team's being called boring and predictable, with too many long balls and slow passes. As an attacking player, how do you respond to that? Do you accept the criticism? Fair play to him. Lawrence didn't dodge it. He admitted the Kilmarnock match was a disaster, but said calling all their performances dull isn't fair. I think that's fair for Sunday, he said. But for the previous games? No. I think we've created enough chances before that. Then he added, we can't play like that again, not while we're at this club. It's on me to create more, score more, and speed things up. We were too sluggish, but I'm sure it'll be better Thursday night. Now, I don't want to rain on the lads' parade, but let's look at the numbers for a second. 12 goals in the league so far, half the amount Celtic have banged in. Only Motherwell have scored fewer out of the teams in the top 6. And don't even get me started on the long balls. We're averaging nearly 26 accurate long balls per game, 5th highest in the league. Meanwhile, Celtic and Aberdeen are playing fewer long balls and still getting better results. So Tom, I think the fans might have a point here. And it's not just the punters saying it. Former Rangers defender Doran Goyen called us predictable in his preview for the FCSB match. Even Clement, when he was asked about it earlier, danced around the question like a politician at election time. So here's one for you to chew over. Do you agree with Tom Lawrence, or is calling this team boring and predictable bang on the money? Right, strap yourself in for this one, because Marvin Bartley's just dropped a bombshell that'll have you spitting out your tea. We've been grumbling about that 1-0 loss to Kilmarnock all week, but now it looks like the rot inside the dressing room runs even deeper than we thought, and trust me, it's the kind of stuff that'll boil your blood. Bartley, now a coach at Livingston, was on Clyde's super scoreboard giving it the full works. Turns out he's got inside word from the Rangers dressing room, and what he's heard isn't pretty. Apparently, there are players in there with the attitude of, I'll outlast the manager. Aye, you heard that right. Some of the lads are sitting back thinking Clement will be shown the door before they are. That's not just cheeky, it's the kind of mindset that could sink the entire season faster than a dodgy penalty decision. Bartley didn't hold back, saying, it's a big couple of weeks for Clement. From what I've heard, 1 or 2 players have that mentality, and it's really hard for a manager to turn things around if that's the case. And here's the kicker. Rangers have spent north of £15 million on transfers this season. There's no excuse for losing to Kilmarnock. Honestly, he's not wrong there. We've splashed the cash, and yet, here we are getting schooled at Rugby Park. And it doesn't stop there. Bartley took another swipe at the team's performance, saying that his own gaffer, David Martindale, reckons he's more worried about playing St. Johnstone or Falkirk than us. That's about as harsh as it gets, but the way things are going, can you blame him? Bartley said the players were taking the easy route, passing to feet, playing it safe, and avoiding the hard work. Nobody wanted to take the game by the scruff of the neck, he said. No forward runs, just standing around waiting for the ball. Kilmarnock deserved that win, and that should never happen. He finished by saying, if I was a Rangers fan, I'd be disappointed. Well, Marvin. We are disappointed, mate. From 1 to 11, those players should be blowing teams like Kilmarnock away. Instead, they're making excuses, and it's us poor fans left wondering what on earth's going on. So here's something to get you going. If there are players in the dressing room thinking they'll outlast Clement, should the manager boot them out first, even if they're big names? So here we are again. Another week, another managerial drama at Rangers. Alan Ruff's been at it on PLZ's The Football Show, saying that Philippe Clement could be just a couple of bad results away from being sent packing. After that grim 1-0 loss to Kilmarnock at Rugby Park, the heat's rising, and Clement's desperate plea for patience isn't exactly winning over the punters. Peter Martin didn't mince his words on the show, straight up asking if Clement was delusional. Ruff shot back with, nah, the board might buy into what he's saying, but the fans? Not a chance. He reckons the board can dream about a slow rebuild all they want, but if the wins don't start rolling in, the fans will be the ones to force a quick decision. And we know what happens then. Good night, Clement. Thing is, we had a decent little run going, but it all unraveled last weekend. Derek McInnes and his Kilmarnock lot turned us over with Marley Watkins scoring the only goal. The defending was a shocker, so bad that Robin Proper had to be hooked off. No fight, no creativity, no silver lining. Just another cold afternoon at Rugby Park and plenty of fans tearing their hair out. Now Clement's come out again, begging for patience. He's asking us to see the bigger picture, saying it'll take time for the new signings to gel and the project to come together. Aye, sounds nice. But here's the thing. Nobody's got the patience for that if it feels like things are going backwards. We've seen this movie before, haven't we? A couple more slip-ups and the question won't be if Clement should go, but when. So now it's all on Clement to change the narrative, starting with tonight's Europa League game against FCSB. A win might just steady the ship, but another poor result, well, that might be the final straw. Here's something for you to chew on. If Clement can't turn it around tonight, should the board cut their losses and look for a new manager now? Or would that just throw us into more chaos? Comment below what you think about the news. Don't forget to leave a like on the video to help me out. I post videos every day talking about our Rangers, so if you're not subscribed, you're missing out on the latest news. See you soon.